Well, we appreciate your respect for the free press, and in that,
it's sincere. I think you know that. But go ahead.
In that spirit, in the president's quest for balance between freedom of the press and prosecution of potential criminal leaks, and in the interest of transparency, would he ask his Justice Department to release the names of all reporters and all news organizations whose phone records have been subpoenaed, who are currently being monitored, or who are in any way being investigated as part of any potential leaks investigation?
It's a very interesting question, and no, seriously, here's the challenge it presents: is that would be the action that you're suggesting any president might take would be to actively involve himself or herself, any president, in an ongoing criminal investigation. And the consequences of doing that are potentially enormous. And that's why it's very difficult when you talk about ongoing activity to suggest that the White House or the president should intervene or take action. What I can tell you is what I told you yesterday, and that is that the president, that I've spoken with the president about this issue, and I've spoken to him about it generally in terms of his views on press freedoms, the First Amendment, the need for journalists to do their jobs, and on the question that I think I had been asked on an earlier day with regard to one of these specific cases, but then extracted so that it did not pertain to a specific case. Should the president's view is that if you were to ask him, should a reporter ever be prosecuted for doing his or her job, the answer in his view is no. And but there's also a balance here, and I think that everyone involved in these cases who has thought about it and written about it in a thoughtful way, or talked about it on television in a thoughtful way, recognizes that there are real issues here when we talk about our secrets. And as I mentioned the other day, if there were no consequences to divulging highly sensitive classified information, then we might as well not have it. We might as well not have secrets. So there has to be a mechanism by which we ensure that national security information that is highly sensitive, the divulgence of which could have enormous and detrimental consequences, is protected, and there has to be an enforcement mechanism to that. I know that's this president's view. I believe it's been the view of his predecessors. It is also his view that we need to ensure that reporters are able to conduct investigative journalism freely, and that they are not prosecuted for doing their job. And I think that, again, broadly speaking, not commenting on specific cases because I cannot and should not, that there are procedures in place that deal with this issue, as I understand it, and there should be more done in the president's view, and that's why he supports a media shield law, and that's why he thinks, as I said yesterday, that this conversation is important to have, and that the broader discussion is important to have, and that the questions surrounding these issues are legitimate, and that this is one of these issues that he believes should be discussed.
So you just stated the president's preference that no reporter should be prosecuted for doing their job. So would it be the president's preference, not intervening, but would it be the president's preference that the Justice Department release the names of news organizations and reporters?
You're saying that
it's not a direction.
Look, I understand, and it's a smart way to ask the question, but I can't suggest that the president would, as a matter of preference or action, intervene.
Do their jobs if they don't know whether they're being investigated while they're doing it. How can they fairly ask people to share information if these people are going to lose their jobs, their livelihood?
Well, I mean, the second part of your question, look, I think that any of us who works for the federal government and who has been cleared for access to classified information is we have a public trust not to violate and divulge that classified information, and the decision to do that is a decision that should carry consequences. I think most Americans would.
Reporters not know if they're being monitored?
Again, I believe, and I know the president believes, that there needs to be adequate provisions in the law that allow for the press to operate freely, and that is reflected in his support for the Media Shield law. It's reflected in what he has said. It is also the case, Jessica, as I've tried to be expansive about in a way that pushes right up against the line here, that he believes that this discussion is important to have, and he believes that the questions being asked now are worth asking.